Hello, today I want to talk about how the United States is losing ground in traditional industries. So here is an example of what I'm talking about. Recently, in December 2023, Japanese steelmaker Nippon Steel just made a bid to buy a well-known American company called US Steel. Well, guess what? The investors were delighted because Nippon Steel is buying it at a premium, or they intend to buy it at a premium. But politicians are less happy. They say, no, how are we going to lose to foreigners this brand name American company that has the name US Steel? And guess what? Guess who is also not happy? Union members, because they are afraid that Japanese steelmakers are going to hold the union members to a higher standard. So they are also insecure. But the problem is that there is no other choice, because US Steel is a company that is dying slowly, and only by being acquired by this Japanese company, only then they have a chance of survival. Well, there is a great deal of nostalgia when we think about US Steel, because it's one of those big companies that represents the industrial mighty of the United States. This one in particular, US Steel, was founded by J.P. Morgan in 1898, and it was at one time it was the largest IPO in history and the first company to achieve $1 billion in revenues. And at its peak, when it was at the best moment of its history, it had over 300,000 employees. Well, the decline has been painful. At this time, this company it has now only 20,000 employees or less, and it's just slowly losing its workforce. Also, at one time in history, US Steel was the 7th largest company in the whole United States, and now it's like 648, 650, something like that, but it's not even big enough to qualify to be part of the S&P 500. After World War II, the United States was the biggest steel producer in the whole world. But how things have changed. Now, China is the biggest steel producer in the world. Now, China has over 50% of market share in the whole world. And then after that very distance, it's come, India with 6 or 7%. And then after that, Japan with 5 to 6%. And then later on, a little bit lower, is the United States with only 4 to 5% market share. So the place, this industry where the United States was so dominant, now is just so negligent, the influence and the work power and the manufacturing capacity that the United States can produce and contribute to the world. A few weeks ago, I recorded another video in which I was talking about the United States have a place of leadership in what it is technology and communication. I mean, we have companies like Google, like Apple, we have Nvidia, we have all these companies that what they do is basically design things in the United States. Let's say Nvidia, they design their chips in the United States and they are manufactured in Taiwan. Apple designs their phone also in California and they are manufactured in China. So this is where the United States has an expertise, and this is the place where the United States can add the biggest amount of value to the global economy. And then, of course, these other industries that rely mostly on cheap labor, well, it is okay if other countries take leadership in these industries. Imagine for a second that you are good at washing dishes and that you are good at accounting, okay? Except that accounting, if you work on accounting, you can get paid, I don't know, let's say $100 an hour. And if you work as a dishwasher, you can get paid $20 an hour. Well, it would be, even if you are good at those two things, it doesn't make sense to dedicate 50% of your time to do accounting and 50% of your time to wash dishes. No, you are adding the biggest amount of value by doing exclusively accounting and let somebody else do the dishwashing. Well, this is the same thing that is happening in the industrial sector. The United States is excelling at inventing all these industries where, I mean, the value that they are adding is in imagining these systems. Look at, for example, Airbnb, where Airbnb is the biggest hospitality company in the world right now, or one of the biggest, and guess what? They don't own any houses, they don't own any real estate. Or look at Uber, okay? Uber, they have designed an app on a phone, right? And they don't own any cars, and they are one of the biggest transportation companies in the world. So this kind of productivity, this kind of imagination of industries that is just basically computer chips, web pages, app designs. This is where the United States is excelling, and we can get the biggest value for our time, and then the harsh labor of I don't know, making steel, for example, then it should be left to other countries. So I want to talk about some of other industries where the United States is losing its leadership, but that's okay. So industry number one, the coal sector, okay? Now people are relying more and more into renewable energy, okay? So there is wind power, there is solar power, there is the capacity to store that energy in higher quality batteries that can, you can extract power from the sun and then store that energy in batteries and then dispense that energy in days that is not sunny or at night. So all this to say that the renewable sector is increasing and the coal sector is decreasing, and that is okay. The other sector, let's say sector number two, that is losing its relevance in the marketplace is brick-and-mortar retail stores, okay? Ever since Amazon came as a major player, everything has been turning, all the retail sales are being transacted through the internet. Every little shop that I know, they have a website, and they do more business through their website than the foot traffic that they manage to create. So brick and mortar retail stores, they are dying, and there are companies like Sears. I mean, probably you don't know Sears, but your grandparents know Sears, JCPenney's. These are companies that at one time they were leaders in the retail sectors, and now they have filed for bankruptcy. Okay, the next industry dying is the paper and print media industry. Okay, so at one time in history, we used to read our news from newspapers, we used to buy magazines, and paper was a big thing. But now we are all using our telephones, our tablets, our laptops to read things, to read the news, to read websites, to watch media, and paper is just becoming more and more irrelevant. Okay, another industry that is dying is the tobacco industry. Okay, so tobacco smokers are stigmatized. They are asked to leave if they are in a restaurant. They are asked to smoke outside. There are many places that are not smoking areas. Now I'm looking for an apartment to live in because I have to move, and many apartments says no smoking allowed, no smokers wanted, none of that. So it is a stigma nowadays to be a smoker, and less people are smoking in the United States and in Canada. Maybe smoking is going up in other countries, but it's a dying industry here in North America. The next thing is manufacturing. Okay, so we spoke a minute ago about the iPhone being manufactured in China, but there are other things like textile. They are just being manufactured in Bangladesh, in Indonesia, in Taiwan, in the Philippines, and practically everything that is manufactured, that is made out of plastic, out of electronics, that is being manufactured somewhere else. Another industry that is dying is the cable industry. Okay, so at one time in history, it was a big pride to have the 500 channels on your TV, and you know, just spend your time switching from one channel to the other. But now, since Netflix, for example, everyone does streaming, and there's Hulu, there's Disney, and I don't know, there are so many. I don't watch that many things. Personally, I watch YouTube, but people are cutting the cord. They don't want to be attached to these 500 channels, out of which they only watch 2 or 3. They want the flexibility to watch what they want to watch whenever they want to watch. Another industry that is dying is the landline telephone industry. Okay, I practically know, out of everyone that I know, I only know one person who has a landline telephone, and that is the mother of my friend Cheryl. Other than that, I don't know anyone. And you know, people are using their cell phones, and they can communicate with everybody else just that much better. So I think, in fact, I think landlines are practically dead. Whoever uses a landline is a weirdo. Okay, then the next industry that is dying, and I wouldn't call this an industry, but let's call it an industry for this video's sake, is the United States Postal Service. Okay, so at one time people used to send letters to each others, and the traffic was big enough in order for the US Postal Service to survive. But now people just send messages to each other through, I don't know, email, to all these texting apparatus, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, you name it. So people can communicate like that and send each other images, so on and so forth. So that means of communication, which was sending regular mail to other people, that practically doesn't exist. And then when it comes to packaging, there's all these e-commerce companies sending packages from one side to the other. Well, they are losing to their competition. For example, Amazon has the biggest logistic company in the United States, and they use it almost exclusively for themselves. But there is also UPS, there is FedEx, there are so many private mail delivery or package deliveries companies, and the US Postal Service has a hard time competing. Okay, so next is the textile industry. I don't know if you buy clothes online, but now practically all the clothes online is being sold by these Chinese companies, and it's just cheap, it's fast, and it's not bad quality. And regardless of what people say, they say it's cheap. Yes, it's cheap, and it's not bad quality. So I don't know, people can open their apps, they can buy the shirt, pants, underwear, skirts, whatever, and that all is manufactured overseas, in China, in India, in Bangladesh, in Taiwan, all these other countries where labor is that much cheaper. And then finally, the last industry that I think is dying, maybe it's not obvious just yet, but the oil and gas industry. I think the renewable industry is just going to take over eventually. Yes, gas companies, oil exploration, those businesses are still out there. They are still making money, but they are becoming less and less relevant over time, because renewable industry, renewable energy is taking over, is is expanding. China is producing these solar panels that are so cheap and efficient and capture the energy of the sun. So yeah, I think oil and gas, maybe not as fast as the other industry, but I think it's gonna die as well. So all these industries are dying because of technological advances somewhere else, because labor is cheaper somewhere else, because of globalization. And if you are owner of some of these companies or some of those industries, I think that the best thing that you could do is just get rid of them. I think that the best thing is to continue focusing on the industries where the United States excel, and I think you will make a little bit more money like that. So that's it for today. Hey, I have a favor to ask you. Well, two favors. Number one, I would love it if you subscribe to this channel. Number two, I would love it if you also subscribe to my newsletter. So the way to do that is to go to my website, alenguillot.com, and there you will see, I'm sure there almost immediately a sign-up box to receive our newsletter. I send one newsletter every Saturday, so you will get a compilation of my videos and blog posts once a week. And yeah, it's a way that I would love for us to use so that we can communicate with each other. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and until soon. Peace.